Hello and good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this very cold Monday evening here in Johannesburg, wherever you are, any part of the world. Thank you for coming on to Solomon's Temple. In Solomon's Temple, we get to discover and talk about, God in every issue. And today we're concentrating on a very big issue that we're all very familiar with, that is COVID-19. And we all know that here in South Africa, if you're in South Africa like me, tens of thousands of people have been infected, quite a lot recovered. And we have, I think, over 5,000 people who have passed on from that. And different people handle it differently. And there's no better way than to learn about this virus and get to see about how people handle this virus, except, to talk to somebody who has been through all that. And it's something that in the history of the world, it has changed a lot. I mean, I don't need to educate you or talk to you about it as much as everybody is familiar with it. Business is shut down, everything is shut down. But how about you as an individual? How about you that knows a friend or a family member who's been infected by this virus? Maybe they passed on, or they're struggling. They're on their way to recovery, quarantine, isolation. And how about yourself? How do you take care of yourself? Are you really trying to look at ways to take care of yourself and make sure that you don't get infected? Well, to discuss that with me today, this evening, I have Salem Nolubabalo Nyati. She's joining me tonight to discuss this. She is a COVID-19 survivor, and she's been there. She has seen, she has experienced quite a lot that we only read about. And I just felt it's appropriate that to bring her here to really, get to share this with her. Thank you so much, Salem, for joining me.
Thank you so much, Solomon, for having me, and greetings to everybody that's watching and listening.
I was almost gonna say, welcome back from the dead. I was gonna say, you've resurrected after a couple of weeks.
It feels like it.
It feels like it, isn't it?
It feels like I was handed over to death's door, and then there was kind of like a decision, and there was a part that I also needed to play, which I still don't know what part it is, but it does feel like there was a point of aloneness and literally toying with death, and how I got out of it, because it was a couple of days, and how I got out of it and how I'm here now. It's something I also can't describe, but only say, perhaps this is what the grace of God looks like.
Yes.
We talk about the grace of God a lot when we go through our life situations, but I think this is what it looks like when you are faced with a situation you can't comprehend, but it really felt like this is it. This is the end. And now I feel like, okay, all of a sudden, something called purpose is now very important to me. And the understanding of, okay, God, what now? What do I need to do next? Because I feel like I've been given a second chance in life.
Wow, that's quite amazing. If ones can get a better perspective about life and question things and begin to this is a second chance, and we hear that quite a lot. And you mentioned the grace of God. We're going to talk about that much later, but let's talk about you yourself. Maybe a few people that are watching right now live or here on YouTube, and also people that are going to watch a lot more later, don't know who you are. But so tell us, let's start with just you, just so we know who you really are.
Okay, my name is Salem Nolubabalo Nyati. Sure, who am I? I am a born-again child of God. I have been working in the finance and credit or debt space for a good 16 years now. So worked for the credit bureau, worked for the credit ombudsman, I'm doing my own thing now. I'm very passionate about people and how they live their life to the fullest, especially when it comes to their finances, because a huge chunk of our well-being is surrounded by how our finances are. And that's where my passion is. I love children. I am a Sunday school teacher, teenage ministry. I also run youth empowerment programs because we see a lot of teenage pregnancy. And so I run a lot of projects around that as well. It's called Own Your Destiny. I'm married. I have 3 children. And yeah, I'm living life, and yeah, my gift is PR, communications, social media. That's why I find it easy for me to just open up and share. And my real thing is all about authenticity, right? And my life has sort of shaped and defined what authenticity is and is still becoming, because now we live in a time of social media, a time of a lot of lies and people portraying what they want other people to think, and it's doing so much damage in society. And I'm just trying to say it is okay to live authentically. We're not really watching anyway.
That's so profound. And having that, your life and what you envision and how you conduct it, and you're the better person, knowing how much you love PR, a better person to really be an advocate for this, for this pandemic. After going through it yourself, there's just no way you're going to be quiet about it.
That's true.
You want to inform people, you want to educate people, you want to inspire people, you want to encourage people, to see the different facets of this. But before you got the virus, what sort of lifestyle do you live? Like maybe exercising, healthy? Were you a healthy person? What would you say before you got the virus?
Look, here and there. So I there's parts of my body that I really appreciated, so I loved squatting a lot. Here at home, I have a 15-year-old daughter who loves exercising. So from time to time, I will sort of just join her. She's the health freak, so I would join her sometimes in what she drinks and eats and whatever. But it was more of what I didn't do.
Yes.
So I guarded a lot against what I consume or what I don't consume that's bad for me. So I had made a conscious decision, for example, not to take alcohol. And I hear it when people say, "Oh, you look so young," and all of that.
So you're alcohol free.
Sorry?
You're alcohol free.
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
So there are things that I just made that decision that, okay, that I won't eat, but I'm not a health freak. So for me, a balanced diet is the proper food that we eat in the home, plus a little bit of junk here and there. We don't do a lot of takeouts. We go for months without takeouts. So yeah, we cook at home.
Now, looking at your lifestyle before you got infected, just tell me a little bit about. Do you have an idea where and how you got infected? And what sort of mindset did you have before you got infected? When the virus, you were aware of the virus, did you take the necessary measure, or you felt, I was a little bit careless here, or I just felt, look, hey, I'm okay anyway?
I have no idea where I could have gotten it from. It could have been anywhere. It could have been the sugar that I touched at the store, right? And let me tell you, by the way, I've always been the paranoid person about the pandemic. So, I mean, I
So you
didn't even
careful.
want, yes,
Yeah.
I didn't even want somebody to ask me to take a photo of them with their phone because I didn't want to touch it.
Yes.
I was keeping the social distance. I had always had my mask when I went out, which was usually once a week or sometimes the entire week. I didn't even go out. So I would like to think I was really careful. But somewhere, somehow it happened. And I believe it had to happen, and it had to happen to me. So I'm not quite sure where I got it, but round about the time where I started falling ill and to the time where I got tested and I tested positive, part of the process for the Department of Health is to contact people whom you were in contact with for the past couple of days. And so you give them the contact details, contact tracing, and then they contact the people to say you were in contact with somebody who's tested positive, and these are the steps you need to take.
Yeah. What you mentioned, you before, you felt sick and then got tested, but before you felt sick, what were some of the symptoms that you noticed?
Let me tell you on day one, because I started, I'm not a person who gets sick. I'm not a person who visits doctors. I'm not a person who takes medication. I mean, the occasional flu that I would get once in 6 years, I would drink water, maybe have a med lemon, sleep the whole day, and the next day I'm fine. And then 6 years passes, and that's just it. That's life. And so on the first day, I felt very cold, but like it felt like my bones are getting cold. And I said to my husband, I am feeling very strange. Do we have windows and doors open in the house? And we had to go around the whole house to make sure that everything is cold. But it was very, very, very strange. And this is now the 1st of July. The 2nd of July, so the 1st of July, I slept the entire day, literally the entire day.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling weak, which is now I'm told I had fatigue. I was feeling weak, so I slept the entire day. The next day, I needed to do some work, a 10-minute shoot. And I tried to dodge the shoot, but eventually I went. And I remember when the security did my temperature check at the gate, it was 36.9. Which, I mean, they would say if your temperature is around 37, 38, it's a cause for concern. So I did this. I mean, I liked all the necessary precaution was taken there. But I said to my husband, I think I'm going to need to be transported there because I don't have the strength to drive. I'm afraid I'm going to fall behind. I'm going to fall asleep behind the wheel. So my husband obliged. I was transported there. On our way back, I didn't even remove my mask. I was just asleep in the car. And when I got home, usually, when you go for these shoots, they put this heavy makeup. And I just home, I literally put my back on the bed and fell asleep. And I mean, that was past 10 in the morning. And I slept the entire day. Right? Now, the next day, my husband says, okay, this is strange. What kind of flu is this? And already now he's now starting to isolate me from the family, telling the children not to come into our bedroom. And if they're going to speak to me, they must stand outside the door and wear masks. Now, all of a sudden, people are taking precaution around me in the house. He's now wearing a mask in the bedroom. I must wear a mask because now this flu seems a bit serious and I'm just so tired. And what gave it away from him is that on the third day, I started criticizing the food. I said, this food tastes like cardboard. Why is it so dry? And why is there no taste? Why are you guys shortchanging the cooking? That's where he started phoning the doctor now to say, she's weak. She has no sense of smell, no sense of taste. She has fatigue. She's got flu. She's starting to cough. And that's when the doctor said she's going to need to get tested. Make sure that nobody comes into contact with her. But already he had done that with the kids, but he didn't stay away. So now all of a sudden in the house, we've got these plates, this plate and this glass and whatever that's used by me only, and that's transported by him. And nobody now is coming to see me. And the turning point, Solomon, was on day 5. And this particular day, he left and I could not move. Now I can't move my arm. I can't extend to get water. I'm not answering phone calls. I am coughing like you won't believe. And the cough was so painful on the right-hand side of my chest that it felt like there was a hole. And now breathing was becoming a struggle because now it felt like I inhale, but the oxygen disappears somewhere and it's not going where it needs to go. And when I breathe, it's like there's water or there's a hole. I can't even move myself to the bathroom. He phones in the afternoon like he usually does. How are you? I say, I'm fine. Because I just wanted him to drop the call because now I don't want to talk.
Right.
I don't want to eat. Because I can't. I couldn't. He phones again after like 2 hours or so and he says, no, man, how are you? I said, look, dude, I'm fine. I don't want to talk. Goodbye. He's like, no, I've got the doctor on the other line. I need you to talk and tell me what's going on. And I said to him, I can't breathe. I'm struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
I can't move. And that was the downfall for me. That's when we were told what medication to get. He needed to pat me on the back constantly, like on the upper back, like he was beating drums, nicely so that I can cough out. And now they started to give us, what home remedies to take, what to take for the cough. And I had a massive, massive headache. That Monday, Solomon, I spent the entire night sitting like this, literally sitting upright because.
Was that before you had your test already?
No, then? Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. I didn't have my test. The doctor said, I don't want to see her. She must not come near me. Okay, she must not come near me. She must not come near anybody. I am going to write her a script so that she goes and gets tested.
Yeah.
Right? That night, I sat up because now the struggling to breathe was becoming more severe.
Okay.
To a point where I thought, okay, if I fall asleep, I might just not be in control of this being conscious about breathing. And I might just lose that and die. So I didn't sleep. And because that was so engraved in me, sleep didn't come. I wasn't tired to a point of sleeping, but I was just so tired I couldn't move. And I remember the following day, I think that's the day of the test. My husband and I left early in the morning. I can't remember how much I layered because I was still very cold. It was a very long walk to the car from the bedroom. I needed to take intervals and try and catch my breath. And, like going downstairs, then he must pat me. We're trying to also make sure I don't touch the rails. It was hard. It was so, so hard. And I mean, at that time, I felt like, okay, maybe we are dying here, right? And I mean, we knew I'm COVID positive, but now it was for the next person to know as well, So eventually we went. When we arrived at the hospital, the nurses said, this is a definite COVID case. We can see. We can just see.
Yeah.
It was a very, very quick in and out. They put the swab in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I was out of there. I got home. And I mean, at that time, we were taking the mixtures that we needed to take, your garlic, your lemon, and your ginger that's boiled.
Yeah.
I was taking the cough medicine, but I was struggling to eat. So they would beg me to have a half a slice just so that I can have medication. And at that time, Solomon, I was not really taking phone calls. I was off social media because social media was showing a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
It was just so much doom.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to hear about it because it was so, so, so depressing. I drank a lot of water, but so day 5, day 6, day 7 was literally, and day 8 was literally a routine of me being awake, because now I'm feeling I'm a born again Christian, right? And I'm opening my mouth and I'm saying with my mouth, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but I was scared. I was scared. I was really scared. Scared because...
All right. Before we even get to the scared part, the moment you noticed that, or the moment you accepted, did you ever accept that you got COVID-19, or the moment you got the test result, what was going through your mind?
Okay, so when the results came, your doctor phones you, right?
Yeah.
So the doctor phones my husband. Now remember, I've got this husband of mine who's coming, and all he's getting from me is criticism because I'm not happy with the way he's patting me on the back. I'm not happy with the food he's bringing. I am just not happy. When he's on the phone with the doctor, I'm not happy because he's too loud, right? So, and I have a husband who has this much patience level. His patience is shame with, but I think that was his test. That was his test. I believe now. So the doctor phoned
is this the husband?
That's the husband. That is my husband.
I said to put him out there and to celebrate him. I know he played a huge role, but we're gonna even talk about him later. The importance of having that support. If you're married or family support, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later also. Yeah, but continue.
So the doctor now phones him and says, where's your wife? And he says, she's right here next to me. And he says, okay, I need you to put me on speaker. I've got her results here. And he puts it that the results came back. And he starts off by saying the email came and it says it's urgent, and I'm thinking, oh, just give us the positive. And he indeed says she tested positive. So you are also going to need to test. He tells this to my husband. You know, after the call dropped, Solomon, I cried, I think, for like 20 seconds. Like, I let out a cry because I needed to let it out. I let out a cry for 20 seconds. And my husband said to me, now is not the time to be weak. Now we need you at your strongest. And that was all in the 20 seconds. And I stopped crying and I was like, okay, I need to shift gears. I felt like I needed to cry more and mope and mourn this thing, but I needed to shift focus because, so I had to now use the brain to say, okay, can't cry, not now, even though the heart was asking for it. And that's when now we know, and he now had the responsibility of how he's going to break it down to the different kids. Because remember, our kids are different age groups. You know, we've got a 20-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And he had to think and know how he's going to break it down for all three of them differently. Right. And at that moment, I knew that it's confirmed it is a real fight for life. So whether I love garlic or not is not relevant. Whether I want to eat or not, or I enjoy the food is not relevant. I have to do what I have to do to survive. Because now all of a sudden it is confirmed. And it is a fight for life. And there are people that I know personally that are dying. And the people that are dying are not your old people or the people that the statistics says, these are the people that die, but these are the people that survive. The people that were dying are the people that were not the common statistics of people that were dying. And so it was a very hard mind battle, more than it was a physical health battle, because now it was a tiring mind battle. And also now I wanted to talk about it. And I mean, the first thing I did was to share with a whole lot of people to say, hey, I'm COVID-19 positive, you know, and there would be comments, Solomon, from educated people who I have trusted to know this person is endowed with wisdom. And they would say, oh, no, don't worry, it's just flu.
Yeah, that's one of the misconceptions. There's a lot of misconceptions there around this virus. You know, some people it's just flu. Some people, I mean, a lot of times I converse with people, they would tell me actually they don't believe the virus exists. You know, I'm talking about people who are educated, you know, people who are smart, who you would expect. Look, it's a virus, right? So let's just assume the best thing, let's just assume it exists just so we can take care of ourselves, you know?
Sure.
And then you have people who also want to make it too spiritual, you know, and take it to one extreme. But for you, during this time of your life, what was your biggest need? I mean, from mental to spiritual, how did you meet those needs? Because obviously the virus came into your life, created a lot of needs for you to be able to go through this phase. You need to meet these needs mentally, spiritually. What was the biggest needs from both sides that you had to really say, look, if I can get this right, I would focus and I'm going to beat this?
I needed to breathe properly so that I can at least have some sleep, because now fatigue was catching up with me.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, my body was saying, Salem, I'm not joining you in this no sleep thing of yours. I want to sleep. And Salem, on the other hand, is afraid of dying in her sleep. So I needed to be able to be able to breathe for a good hour. That way I can sleep.
Sleep a little
But
bit.
also, my body was sore. So when I sleep on the side, or at least lay on the side, I needed to change quickly because this side became painful very quickly. So I needed to change very quickly to the next side. But it was hard to sleep on my right side because that's where I felt the most pain. The moment I sleep on my right side, I would start coughing badly, and to a point where the breathing, the intervals of being able to breathe were shorter and shorter. And I didn't want to face the side of my husband because I just felt like, you know what, he's here, but I just want to look away, so that, I don't know, in my mind, I was trying to say, let me preserve him as much as I can. But I mean, it was there already because days later, his results also came back and he was also positive. But I just needed my breath, I just needed the oxygen to flow well, just so that I can have an hour, just 1 hour of sleep. That's all I needed at that time. I didn't think about the word of God, that I needed the word. I didn't need anybody's positive confirmation. I didn't need anything from anyone. I just needed breath at that time. And that's when I started, actively seeking eucalyptus oil, because people were saying eucalyptus oil, and we were not getting it anywhere until I got it from somebody, literally. And my husband's aunt, who also helped us with like the gum tree leaf, and then I started to steam. But I mean, during those days, the steaming wasn't doing much, because after steaming, it was just so hard. It was hard to then walk back to the bed. So that's what I needed. I needed to be able to breathe consistently for 1 hour so that I can at least get 1 hour sleep, and then I can wake up. That would be okay.
And if you're watching, we're talking to Salem. She a survivor from COVID-19. And if you want to ask her a question, please do. Send your questions. If you want to encourage her, if you want to say something, please, you can just comment right there, and we're going to post it on the screen so everybody could see. But experiences like this would only enrich our lives and be able to, help us to take care of ourselves and also take care of others, which is very, very important. Informations like this are very, very vital. And we have to share this. We have to be able to understand this and to see it. Your experiences might be different. If you, sort of like get infected or whatever, or family member, but at least we can draw something out of it and be able to see how we can help, how we can really be able to help other people. So we just take a 20 seconds break, and when we come back, please send those questions and send comments. We're gonna talk about, you mentioned your kids, so we're gonna talk about the kids. They're like different generations.
Yeah.
And how they processed it, and how they've been able to go through it, and also maybe are they in school now or they at home, that kind of thing, and your husband, the role that he played, and most importantly also your church, and people that are spiritual support to you after the break. Welcome back from the break. You're still right here on Solomon's Temple, where we're discussing COVID-19 from a survivor's perspective, giving us her experiences, what she's been through. And don't forget, you can subscribe to this videos, YouTube videos. You can check out my YouTube channel, Solomon's Temple. You can subscribe so you can get other exclusive videos. And as we share different experiences, you know. And Salem, I was talking to you just about, you know, the role that, even before we get to the role that your husband played, because obviously you mentioned him almost every 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So he's been in the picture. He definitely played a huge role. But before then, on your way to recovery, you know, what would you say spiritually for you in your life? Even before spiritually, what would you say on your, once you notice that you're beginning to get sort of back to normal? What was the mood inside of you? Now I can eat better, I can breathe a little bit better, you know, now you're beginning to recover. What was the mood for you? You know, having gone through the worst and now you're going downhill.
Let me tell you, Solomon, just before I got better, I remember saying to God, there are many words that I have presented in front of you over the years. There are many prayers that I've done, petitions to you. And at this moment, all I'm asking is that you find whatever is relevant that I've ever once said to you that's relevant for this moment. Those are the words that are standing and speaking on my behalf, because I don't have any fight in me. And I left it at that. Because I did not know what to say to God. Do I even ask him to spare my life? Is that even his plan? But all he needed to do was examine my heart to understand what I need and just take from whatever prayers I've ever made and just make it applicable at this moment. And so now at this point, I'm starting to feel better. And the one psalm that I kept reciting was, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Even this lung that is giving me problems, it is blessing the Lord. It is all that is within me. Even the brain that's playing tricks on me, all that is within me is blessing your holy name. Even the mouth that is refusing to speak at a time like this, it is blessing your holy name. All that is within me, and everything that seems to not be functioning the way it should be functioning right now, all that is within me is blessing your holy name. And that was Solomon. And now we start to see a look up. Now all of a sudden I'm starting to ask for the second slice of bread. Now I'm starting to say, oh, this tea is a bit sweet today, you know. So the taste is coming back. I'm now complaining about my husband's farting. And he's like, I've been farting here for 10 days. What's your problem? You know? So now it's starting to pick up. And for me, it was like, okay, it's almost like this car has been kickstarted. And I just need to make sure, you know how when you manually kickstart a car?
Yes.
You can't lose it.
No. You have to put your feet need to be there.
Exactly.
You keep going. No slowing down.
You keep the ignition on.
Yeah.
Until you know we're out of the woods. And that for me gave me that strength until somebody recommended that I go to a particular group and they said on Facebook, and they said there's so much motivation there.
Yeah.
And the first post I saw there was of a partner who lost his wife in her sleep due to COVID-19.
Wow.
And I relapsed. And that night, I was coughing blood. I relapsed. I mean, I think it was day 12 or 13. I literally relapsed. And now my husband is on the phone with the doctor. The doctor, now they're trying to decide, do we take her to the hospital? Because now this is serious. And here I am lying, saying, oh no, it's not that bad. Meanwhile, I would go to the bathroom and really cough heaps of blood and come back and present streaks of blood because I did not want to go to the hospital. But again, the next day, I had to literally mentally pull myself up again.
That's quite a, that's quite a, you know, when you hear this, sometimes it's more like, what you mean you went through this? There was the psalm that you shared, you know, talking about, you know, praising God, like everything about you to, you know, to just worship God in itself. And I just remember the scripture that I actually want to share with you from Jeremiah 17:14. It says, heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved. For you are my praise. You know, and I mean, you made God your praise. You know, even though the even though the mouth cannot even say it, you know, and sometimes we think praise is just external. Not knowing, you know, is a lot of it is internal, because you actually, for it to become external, it has to come from the inside. So sometimes you just do it in the inside and really believe that, you know, God is right there and God would help out. There's a question here from Samuel. Is how long after getting the virus did it start to cause difficulty in breathing?
So I'm not going to say how long after the virus. I'm going to say how long after I felt symptoms.
Yes.
Right. So it was after 5 days. Yeah. So it was after 5 days when after I was feeling fatigued, tired, and the coughing had started. Then about late day 5, early day 6. And all that happened was so for the 4 days, my breathing intervals became shorter and shorter. So if I could breathe properly for 45 minutes, then all of a sudden it's reduced to 30 minutes, it's reduced, and it just became so short intervals that we were toying. Now it's a matter of, I think it's time for the hospital now. I think it's time for the hospital now. And that's the one place I didn't want to go to, because I believe the hospital is where people die.
Yeah, you avoided it at all cost.
At all cost. At all cost.
And here's a comment and also some sort of a question from Cecilia. She says, sometimes resting the situation in God is the best thing to do. I mean, what do you do when you are in a hopeless situation? Resting in God. Yeah.
That's true. And let me tell you, Solomon, people have always known to call me when they have situations. There are people who know to call me at 2 a.m.
Right.
And I command. And you hear somebody say, oh my God, Salem, my child is healed now. But it just then reminded me and dawned on me, it's not me, because I couldn't do it for myself. So it wasn't me. Whatever it is that I thought it, you know, I thought, oh, thank you, Lord, for this gift. And I almost thought it's me.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah. And I was reminded, because I couldn't do it for myself.
Yeah. Now, your family, your husband, and your kids. Tell me the sort of role that they, especially your husband, the sort of role that he played. He's here, he's there, and then he also got tested, and he was positive. And then the kids, what was going through their mind? Were they able to process things and put everything in perspective, or there are still questions to ask? I mean, the one is a teenager and one is an adult.
So I see this situation as my husband going into the fire with me, literally.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the best way to describe it. I know him to be impatient, but I have never seen an amount of patience the way I saw. Firstly, he didn't feel, oh no, we are isolating you. We are going to keep ourselves away from you. He jumped into the fire. So he knew he was going to contract it from me.
Yeah.
At a point where I was so upset about this mask business. Sometimes I would, just as I was finished eating, I would cough before I wear a mask, and he would say, "Hi, but where's your mask?" And I would get so upset. And he just thought, you know what? I'm not going to deal with her emotionally. We are just going to do whatever we can. So I felt like he just really cleaved, like, oh, yeah. But then try to protect everybody else. And with our kids, the 22-year-old, I mean, we told him straight out, because sometimes he would make the coffee, or he would make well, not coffee at the time, but like the lemon and the ginger and garlic and whatever, so he had to be very cautious. And the 15-year-old, because they have a relationship where the two of them are always teasing me and calling me gangster. When he called the 15-year-old, and he said, "This gangster, can you believe how weak this gangster is?" She decided to go pick up COVID type of thing. They laughed about it. They made a joke about the background that I come from, because I grew up in a very gangster sort of area.
Community,
so
yeah.
they were teasing me to say, oh no, even that background didn't help you when it needed to help you most during COVID. So that's how he related to her. And the young one, he said, "Mommy has terrible, terrible flu. And because you know that there's this pandemic, we need to be cautious." It wasn't an outright "Mommy tested positive." She only caught on later when I started doing radio interviews and TV interviews that, this is what's happening. But I mean, at that time, she was already used to the distance. And then Dad also explained that they can't go to school. So they're now doing online schooling. They're still at home even now.
Okay.
Still doing online schooling. So even though we have finished the 14 days, I mean, we are on day 20 now, but we're still taking it really easy. I haven't really integrated back into the family yet, because we're just taking everything easy.
And you got a lot of support from your church, and
a lot of support from the church. Yeah, let me tell you, I will never forget the church administrator. Umam Kawe would call every single day, and when she drops the call, she would say to me, "Philango naphakade," meaning live forevermore. Right? And that gave me so much strength. I mean, the leader of the church, the pastor, you know what was amazing, Solomon? Every scripture that they quoted, which was not a lot, by the way, was something that I had uttered to God, or shared with my husband. So I mean, our counseling, a leader called, and he recited Psalm 103, and I just laughed because, well, that's what I've been busy with. So it was a lot of support from the church. support from the family as well. I mean, my brother-in-law, I would even buy him a car, let me tell you. That's how meaningless, something tangible has become now.
Yes.
Based on what I went through. The family, his family, my family. It was just amazing. I mean, the kids would write notes. Daddy, when are you and mommy coming downstairs? And they would just slip it under the door, or they would share stories outside the door. Those things were so empowering. People would remind me how cheeky I am and how they expect me back, how they accept my cheekiness, because I'm one of those really assertive kind of person, strong personality. So I was, quite down and humble. And the older kids would tease me about how humble, if COVID-19 can make a Salem so humble, it is strong. So we took it in our stride, Solomon, and we just knew that we need to survive. We all need to survive, and we all have a part to play.
It's quite important what you mentioned. The church has a role to play, and also, brothers and sisters in the faith, they have a role to play. And sometimes we might just think, oh, well, we're just going to pray about them. But just a phone call or a message could go a long way in really encouraging that person, empowering them, for them to be able to continue to build a zeal, to be motivated, to see the finish line and to stay in right there.
And also, I'm a Sunday school teacher, right?
Yeah.
So I got a lot of messages from the kids as well. The parents would ask me, can we disclose? I said, by all means, tell them to say, look, contracted the virus. Tell them the truth, and some would phone and crying, and I would say, I'm supposed to be crying, not you. So if I'm not crying, you're not crying, right? And those things really lifted me up to say, you know what, God, I actually have a purpose on earth. That is why I am appealing to you to save and spare my life, because there's some work to be done.
That's right. Now, there's a lot of stigma, that we've seen, amongst other people, a social stigma that we see people, and you yourself, you started like, what do I call it now? You started like a campaign. I saw some of the stuff you posted, just stigma, just like this one here, survive COVID-19, hashtag stay home, hashtag stay safe. And then there's this one here, hashtag no stigma, survived COVID-19. What do you have to tell people, people that don't have the virus and also still navigating? Is this real? Is it not? And all that kind of stuff. But for us to be able to break the stigma, to say, look, hey, this is not something that you should stigmatize, but something that you should be careful, but not something that you alienate people.
Solomon, people who have achieved in life, people who think better about themselves, people who have given themselves or have been given a particular social standing.
Right.
You may think that there are things that they are better than. And one of them being COVID-19. So people disassociate themselves and say, I'm better. COVID-19 is for a particular kind of people. That's why people would say to me, someone so beautiful. How did you contract it? Didn't you know better? Because now they are attaching a certain look, they are attaching a certain social standing, some intelligence, some education. And I wanted to break that, because people who think like that of themselves, because they're in denial, and some of them are born again Christians who are something at church, all of a sudden now, because they're in denial, they then go and spread the virus because they now all of a sudden not isolating, they are not taking the necessary precaution. And I just wanted to say, a Salem can get it.
Yeah.
You know, because there is a sphere of influence that I also have, no matter how small or big or whatever the case may be. And people were actually sending me private messages, Solomon, to say, hey, Salem, thank you for sharing. I also have it, but don't tell anyone.
I see.
And my question was, why? Why don't you want anybody to know? Because when people know, that's when you get encouragement. Otherwise, you are going to be in your corner and die or suffer. Meanwhile, we could help you.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started this, and I'm seeing a lot of people actually coming out to say, well, I also contracted the virus. And it's more for people to come out so that they don't infect other people.
That's great. Good campaign there. We must keep that positivity, and maybe we have to make sure that we don't really stigmatize people.
Yeah.
We see them as going through a health situation, and hopefully they get back on their feet. You are also a debt management expert. Finally, COVID-19, just outside of you surviving it, a lot of people lost their jobs or had to give up some money. Business is not doing well and all that, and the debt is piling. What is the one advice that you would give people with your expertise when it comes to debt management? What would you one advice that you could give people for them to be able to navigate through this period and make sure that they manage their finances and their debts, appropriately, and not to accumulate so much of it, that kind of thing?
And here's the thing, Solomon, people are being called, even though some are isolating, some are sick, the debt collectors are still calling and adding on to the stress that you don't need. So here's the thing. The one thing I want to say to people, when you lose your job due to retrenchment, there is something that usually comes with your debt package. Debt package being your home loan, your car finance, credit card, personal loan, whatever it is. It is called credit life insurance or credit life cover. Or when you look at your statement, it would be written CPP, Credit Protection Plan. Your first thing to do when you get that retrenchment letter is to go to the provider and say, I want to claim against the credit life cover, so that what the cover does, while you are looking for work, your installment is being paid for 12 months. That's very important.
Yeah.
Any credit agreement that was taken from August 2017 to date comes automatically with the credit life cover. Before that, you were given an option whether you wanted or not. And people don't even know that they're paying for the Solomon because it's a small amount. It's R4.50 for every 1,000 rands. For a bond, it's R2 for every 1,000 rands. So that's the first thing you do before you even take out a payment holiday that they offer you, or a payment break, or whatever the case may be. Claim against credit life cover.
So good advice right there for everyone, because a lot of people are swimming in debt or trying to see, look, hey, what do I do now? It's 4 months and the monies are not coming in and all that kind of thing. So one last word from you, advice for people who are family members who are infected with the virus, and also advice to people like me, who I need to be careful. People like us that are not infected in any way, but what would you advise for us to try to to avoid it, some of the health rules and whatever?
You know, Solomon, be kind. You know, we need to be kind to one another. We need to be careful for the next person. This virus is not about you. Now it hurts me when I see people do the house parties and these baby showers and all of that, and people not wanting to disclose. That also hurts because you may survive it, but the person you have infected may go and infect their pregnant sister who may not survive it, or whose baby may not survive it. It is not about you. When you wear your mask, it's not about you. The social distancing is not about you. Keep to that. I cannot stress it enough. And when you start feeling a cough or a sneeze, treat it as COVID-19 and isolate immediately, and then get tested and take the necessary medication. But I mean, if there's any consolation, our death rate is very low compared to how many people are testing positive. Our recoveries are quite high. It's just that for some people, when you go through it, you go through hell, serious hell. And we don't want that.
That's right. We don't want that. And we are glad that you're able to make a comeback. And we thank you so much taking the time to talk to me this evening. It's been educational. It's been very informative, you know, to be honest with you. And it's just a reality of your story. It's your story. So listening to you share it is just totally something different than, you know, when it comes to reading it somewhere or hearing about it and all that kind of stuff. But thank you so much. Do hope that you come out of it's 20 days now, isn't it? 21
days.
Yeah. But we do hope that you come out of it strong and you're able to continue to be vocal, you know, when it comes to just trying to help other people. Thanks, Salem.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the time and the platform. And keep safe.
Thank you. And God bless.
God bless.
Well, that's it right here on Solomon's Temple. Salem Nyati, just talking about our experiences. And yeah, you need to keep safe. We need to be able to say, what's my responsibility in this whole, you know, scheme of things. And it's important that I do what I have to do. It's important that I do what is right and not be careless. You heard what Salem said. She spoke about, you know, people still having parties, you know, like you're still having parties, you know, underground parties, you're still baby showering. The other day I was at driving around the street and I could hear a party going on, I think just by the pool, you know, and it's just not the right thing. I went to the vet with our dog and next door to the vet didn't even let me go inside. I just have to give the vet doctor, the puppy from outside, and they go in and sort it out and bring it out. But next door, I could see a lot of people having a party, and you just know that not all these people live in this house, you know, by the pool. And they're like people like me, like black people, you know. So we need to be able to really take precautions. And even if you're not going to do it for yourself, please do it for another. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.